What were some of the first lessons that you learned in trading?
So yeah. So the biggest, probably the single biggest lesson I've learned is don't add to a loser. Don't add. Because before you know it, um, if it continues to go against you, that loss can really stack up. And it also it's just a really poor way to trade because then when even if you go add and then you finally get in the money again, you're instantly hitting the cover button because you're like, oh crap, I was X amount down, now I'm break even. And then you don't actually let the trade work then. You get on the right side, but you don't give it time to work. So I quickly learned that adding is bad. I think being too aggressive out of the open, there are times for it, but there are also times just to sit on your hands and me and my trading friends, we joke that sometimes we're long and we just use the ticker SOH, which just means sitting on hands. So we just be long sitting on hands. It just means we don't plan to trade or we're just going to be wait for that sort of 10 a.m. window. So I think trying to keep, yeah, so I definitely think trying to keep losses small, but then like something that I'm working really hard on at the moment is once you're on the right side is, how to really hit, get the hammer out and really wield it, and how to add size onto winners and give them time, let them run, etc. So I think sort of both of those together are probably where I'm at now working on is keep losers small, and then when I get a chance, just get the hammer out and really smash it.
Was there one particular trade or maybe turning point where you think your trading really turned around?
So yeah, so when I analyzed my trades for and it's still sort of occasionally true now, but it's less frequently. But like I look back at like 2021, and there were like 6 or 7 trades that basically meant really dug into my P&L. Just 6 or 7. If I had taken those 6 or 7 days off, it was crazy with the difference that my P&L would experience. So I've come. It was like it was all the ones that like a lot of them are the types that fail quite heavily in pre-market, and then obviously there's a game afoot, and there's suddenly a bid, and perhaps like I'm taking my pre-market bias into the open, and they're all just classic examples of don't rush at the open, be patient. You got a better picture at 10 o'clock. And actually, like they set up really nicely. But by the time you get to that point where you've taken quite a big loss, the exhaustion, like it's one of those weird things that you think is like complete nonsense, but actually it's real. And like a lot of the times I'm thinking like I need to be short my emotions because as soon as I feel like I'm exhausted. I'm tired of this trade. It's not going to happen. It's not going to pull back, whichever way you're looking at it. I guess that's the time actually everyone else is. A lot of other people are thinking that as well, and actually that's the time actually when it sets up quite nicely. So it's taken me a long time to get to that point, and I think now I'm in a better position where A, I'm more patient, and B, actually if I do take a loss on the perhaps if I am too early or whatever, actually it doesn't really affect me moving into the next trade. As long as you take, and I think that's another thing is like to reframe taking stops is you're not necessarily taking, don't think of it as like, and I have to remind myself this all the time, don't think of it as taking a loser. Think of it as an opportunity. Actually, it's probably setting up for an even better trade. It's setting up higher. It's going to be more. There's going to be more range, etc., etc. It just moves them from like one setup into the next.
I think that's definitely something that especially new traders have to figure out is just how important the idea of like trading psychology is and getting your emotions in check, because a lot of times, like you had mentioned, when the time comes to actually get into the trade, one could find themselves just mentally out of capital.
Yeah. It's crazy actually, like the effect that it can have as well. Like you could take, and particularly if you take an outsized loss on the front side. I'm mainly short bias, so if I'm that's sort of how I'm trying to explain things. Um, it can really affect you, and like there are so many occasions where actually you could have lost a couple R on the front side. Obviously, you don't want to do that. You want to be patient, but at the same time, though, like it then gives you a 4 or 5 R trade on the backside. If you just were patient, or if you just didn't exhaust yourself. And it's just crazy, actually, the effect that it can have. I think that probably, probably in the obviously, I think that's just relating to early stages. I doubt many seasoned veterans get particularly exhausted anymore.
I've talked to some trading veterans outside of this, and they say similar things. Sometimes, just patience is the most important thing. Wait for the trade to set up or get on the right side of the V. Sort of idea.
And that idea has been like, in terms of like moments that sort of like, like the light bulb goes off in your head, like Lance sharing the right side of the V. It's just such a nugget of information. And then since then, like that's changed my trading as well. And there was another chat with on another podcast with, I think it's Stan Glusman. Sorry if I said that name wrong. And he talks about, like, on the short side, he only gets short if there's a red candle. Because if it's my interpretation of that is that if it's a red candle, you can be on the right side of the V, but you can't be on the right side of the V if it's a green candle, because if you're getting short and vice versa. And like, I just think like there's such, keep exploring. This is what I'd say to anyone, is just keep exploring. All of a sudden you just pick up these little nuggets and suddenly some of them resonate with you.